The average NBA player stands at 6 feet 7 inches, but when those 6'7" guys stand next to these guys on this list, they also feel belittled. Here are the top 10 tallest players in NBA history. Standing next to a basketball player can make a person feel like a dwarf. Even though he looks like a bouncer in front of a Russian mob club, 7'4" Boban Marjanovic is one of the most popular role players in the NBA today. Boban became a fan favorite because he was the biggest kid on the court. You can often see Boban smiling and cracking jokes on the bench or fetching balls when nobody else can. Sadly, he spends most of his time on the bench, playing less than 10 minutes per game on average. This is not because Boban cannot play in the NBA. In Europe, he was regarded as one of the best centers, winning multiple regional MVP awards and being selected to the All-EuroLeague first team due to different rules. In the NBA's pace and space era, Boban was able to stay parked in the paint and dominate the game from the inside. However, he is constantly forced to chase smaller players, which doesn't play to his strengths. If he played 20 or 30 years ago, he probably would have been one of the best centers in the league. He doesn't play much these days, but who else can say that they kicked Keanu Reeves in the ass in John Wick 3? Sim Bhullar is a Canadian professional basketball player who stands 7 feet 5 inches tall. He is the first player in the NBA who is of Indian descent. As you might have guessed, Sim Bhullar stands 75 inches tall and weighs 360 pounds. After spending 2 years in Mexico State, he declared for the 2014 NBA draft, but was not selected. However, because the owner of the Sacramento Kings, Bec Ranadive, is also Indian, the Kings selected him to play for their summer league team primarily for marketing purposes. Simev eventually made the roster on a 10-day contract, and he appeared in 3 NBA games and logged 3 minutes. Pavel Podkolzin. Pavel started his career in the Russian second division and also played in Italy before declaring for the NBA draft in 2004. He pulled Pavel, who was 7 feet 5 inches tall. Similar to Sim Bhullar, Pavel Podkolzin was another guy who didn't play much in the NBA. However, due to his short stint with the Mavericks and his height of 75, he is on our list. He was actually picked pretty high, but the Utah Jazz traded him to the Mavs with the 21st pick on draft night. He played 6 games for Dallas, playing 28 minutes and scoring 4 points. He is still a professional player and plays in Russia. Chuck Nevitt, who stands 7 feet 5 inches tall and has 275 NBA counterparts, had a significantly longer NBA career, but his minutes per game average is comparable to Bhullar's, which helped coalesce him even though Nevitt's played in 9 NBA seasons. Despite the fact that he only played in 155 games and spent an average of 5 minutes on the court, he was a very popular player during his playing days because many people wanted to stand in his presence and feel really small, which is a trait shared by all of the players on this list. Despite not playing a minute of the postseason with the Lakers in 1985, he never won the title. However, he is the tallest player to ever win a championship, which is a trivial fact to keep in mind. Shawn Bradley was the 3rd tallest player to ever play on the NBA hardwood, standing at 7 feet 6 inches. Despite his height, Bradley was a decent player and the best shot blocker. He became a household name right away. Bradley was also trying to swat anything near the rim, which unfortunately made him a poster boy for being posterized. Due to his size and somewhat nerdy appearance, he was a target for most athletic wings who wanted to get a 7'6" guy on a poster. He once blocked 14 shots in an NCAA game, which is still a record. Bradley was selected in Philadelphia, but his playing career, which spanned 9 seasons, left the most lasting impression on basketball fans around the world. He averaged 8.1 points, 6.3 rebounds, and 2.5 blocks per game and remained a household name. You may also be familiar with him from the video game Space Jam, in which he starred alongside Michael Jordan and was one of the players whose talents were stolen by the Moonstars. Yao Ming, who stands 7 feet 6 inches tall, is the best player on this list. He is the biggest Asian basketball star of all time and one of the biggest advocates for the sport. His parents were 2 of China's tallest people, and they both played basketball. Under Mao Zedong's socialist regime, they were almost forced to get married and have children. His mother was 6 feet 3 inches tall and his father was 6 feet 7 inches. Yao was a government project before he was born, and he was expected to be tall. Even though Yao wasn't good at it at first and didn't like basketball, he was forced to play basketball, and despite his freakish height and countless hours of training, he was able to dominate the Chinese league. He was selected by the Houston Rockets as the first overall pick in the 2002 NBA draft. Because of his height and the support of over 1 billion Chinese fans, he became a worldwide sensation right away. However, there were a lot of reporters following his every big step. However, it wasn't just height that attracted some attention. Yao was also extremely skilled for a player of his size. He had a wide range of post moves and a silky smooth jump shot, making him one of the best centers in the league when healthy. Sadly, he was rarely healthy, and his large frame couldn't keep up with the brutal NBA pace on his feet and knees. He retired at 30. He averaged 19 points, 9 rebounds, and 2 blocks per game and was inducted into the Hall of Fame in 2016. He will be remembered as the biggest and greatest Asian player of all time and the only player who makes Shaq look small. Slavko Vranes is a Mountain Agron basketball player who is 7 feet 6 inches tall. With his height of 7 feet 6 inches, it is easy to understand why Slavko Vranes started a professional basketball career at the age of 7 when he signed for Turkish FS Pilsen. This was in response to the emergence of Yao Ming, who was drafted the year before. After the next team gambled and selected him with the 39th overall pick in the 2003 NBA draft, they quickly realized he wasn't Yao. He didn't play a minute for the Knickerbockers because they waived him in the middle of the season. After he cleared waivers, the Trail Blazers signed him to a 10-day contract. In case you were wondering, he was given the opportunity to play in one game for them, and despite not scoring, his height earned him a spot on our list. He played for them for a total of 3 minutes. Taco Fall is another 76 club member who joined the NBA this year. Naturally, we're talking about Taco Fall, who plays for the Boston Celtics. Taco was born in Dakar, Senegal, in 1995, and moved to the United States when he was 16. When he was a high school junior, grabbing the rim with his feet planted firmly on the ground, despite the fact that many scouts doubted he would ever become an NBA player, Taco drew extreme interest from colleges and ended up at the University of Central Florida, where he stayed for the full 4 years. If you're a hoops fan, you probably heard about him around 7 to 8 years ago. Taco's basic basketball skills improved over time, and he became one of the best college defensive players. In 2017, he was named Defensive Player of the Year by the AAC. He also helped his school win its first March Madness tournament game. In the fall, he declared for the 2019 NBA Draft, where he set records for height, wingspan, and standing reach at the draft combine. Fall made his debut for the Celtics on October 26 during a game against the New York Knicks and became a fan favorite in Boston. However, he was not selected in the draft. Rather, the Boston Celtics signed him to a 10-day contract, which allowed him to play for them in Summer League. There, he performed well enough to make the roster for the season on a 2-way contract. Manute Bol was 7 feet 7 inches tall, and he was the tallest player ever when he took the lead. Whenever he was in a jam, he always found a way around it. He had a criminal record longer than men, and he rapped Big L in his hit record MVP. While Manute Bol wasn't an MVP on the floor, he was frequently mentioned in rap lyrics and appeared on the front covers of magazines. Because of this, he rose to prominence in popular culture. Manute was born in South Sudan, which is, on average, the tallest country in the world. However, despite having an average height of over 6 feet, I knew that he was the tallest of the tall. Not only was Manute tall, but he was also visually extended, had already very long limbs, and only weighed 220 pounds. This made him stand out even more and reduced his impact on the court. Bol was one of the best shot blockers the league has ever seen, which is why he was able to stay in the NBA for 10 years but 624 games play. It was often bullied by opponents who were physically stronger because the majority of centers in power forwards weight from 240 pounds upwards. However, it wasn't exactly very skilled either, and he averaged only 2 points and 6 points throughout his career. Despite his lack of offensive production, Bol was one of the best shot blockers the league has ever. The player with the second highest average 3-point block per game and the only player in NBA history to have more blocked shots than points in his career. A great humanitarian off the court, he will always be known as the Jolly Big Giant and a metaphor for extremely long fangs. George Muresan is 7 feet 7 inches tall. When you're tall enough to look over bathroom stalls, you're either going to play in the NBA or make other people feel really uneasy from time to time. Jorge Muresan performed both Chris Webber's and George's bathroom pranks. George, a Romanian center who was born in Transylvania, didn't expect to be tall because his mother was 5 feet 7 inches tall and his father was 5 feet 9 inches tall due to a pituitary gland condition. George was one of Chris Webber's funniest teammates. When George was just 22 years old, he continued to grow until he was 7 feet 7 inches tall, making him the tallest NBA player ever. He was also taller than Manute Bol, who was even his teammate for a brief time. Ran was awkward when he first joined the league, so he didn't play much in the first 2 seasons. However, Jorge became a solid contributor after becoming a permanent starter in his 3rd season, averaging 14.5 points, 9.6 rebounds, and 2.3 blocks while leading the league in field goal percentage. This earned him the award for the Most Improved Player in 1996. The following year, he led the league in field goal percentage, but a back injury kept him out of the game for the entire 97-98 season and all but 1 minute of the one that followed. After his recovery and his acting debut in Billy Crystal's My Giant Nearest Son, he finally returned to the court in the 1999-2000 season. However, he was only able to play 30 games for the Nets before giving up because of the foot, knee, and back problems that are common for basketball players of his size. Despite this, he remained a fan favorite in Washington, where he still lives with his family today. That's the end of today's video. If you did, help us out by giving us a thumbs up and recommending this video to other sports lovers. Subscribe to our channel and click the notification bell to make sure you never miss out on our next videos. See you at the next one.